Hello and welcome to today's exciting episode of Adulting with Hayley. Today I am going to be making cupcakes because it is my daughter's 4th birthday tomorrow, and we're having a Paw Patrol themed party. So I ordered these off Tinternet. These are printed on rice paper, and I've got there's 2 sheets, so there's also the other pups there, so that's good. There's 30 in total. So I'm going to be making cupcakes, which is basically a bog standard Victoria sponge recipe, but obviously instead of doing it into cake tins for making a big cake, we'll be using some of these. Now normally when I do these videos I would be doing them with the little E, but this weekend is her weekend where she stays with her daddy, so she's not with me. I have to do this by myself, so it'll probably be quicker. There'll probably be less toys going into the mixing bowl, but it won't be as interesting for anyone watching. So what you need for this making of cakes, which you may have done when you was a kid with family members but haven't done for years, and so you just need a refresher. It is really easy to make a basic Victoria sponge. It's my go-to cake for making. You can buy them in the shop, and that's entirely up to you, but it's good to make them. Just looking at how dark my eye looks. Oh, it looks terrible. Anyway, regardless of that, that's normal. That's life. I don't wear any makeup. I think that looks particularly bad today, though. Never mind. That's what being an adult looks like. So you need a large mixing bowl. You need an electric whisk. You can whisk by hand, but obviously it is much quicker to do it with an electric whisk. So electric whisk, large mixing bowl. If you don't have an electric whisk, then just use a regular old-fashioned whisk. I don't even know why I still have that. I can't remember the last time I actually used it for anything. A sieve for sieving your flour. You can just chuck your flour in. It's not that important to sieve it. And we're using plain white flour. Obviously other supermarket brands are available. It normally comes in bag. Basically, because it's easier to store it, this is an old tub from baby milk, so this is a top tip for you. When you get your bag of plain white flour, you may find that you don't use all of it, obviously, because you wouldn't need to use a whole bag for something, and then you put it in the cupboard and the flour goes everywhere, you know. So you've got 2 options. You can either put the bag in a bag, which I've done with my sugar for the same reason, or if you have a large tub like this, you put it into here. And this is good because it's airtight as well, so that should stop weevils. I don't know where weevils come from, how they get into your flour, but you know, if you don't use your flour very regularly, you can get weevils. So these are good for helping to prevent weevilage. They used to sell in the olden days. I'm sure you can still get them now, but you used to get big tins that were specifically designed for keeping your flour in, and I'm sure you can still get them now. But if you have had a baby and you've used formula milk that comes in a big tub like this, then it's great for keeping your flour in. So anyway, on to the recipe. So we're going to need it says 6 ounces of margarine. So I've got some spread here. I am not using margarine. No, that's what we used to use in the old days, but it's not that nice. I'm using butter. This is a spreadable, so that'll be easier for me to mix with. 6 ounces of self-raising flour, 6 ounces of sugar, and 3 eggs. 1 egg. 2 eggs, 3 eggs. Okay, so that's my ingredients. Put that milk away there. Okay, so right, so the first step's nice and simple. God, goodness gracious me, it's already been 5.5 minutes and I haven't even started yet. So let's start. So beat the eggs, place the marge and sugar into a large mixing bowl and cream together. Okay, so we also need something to beat the eggs into. So you crack your eggs on the side and you dip them in. Obviously you need your bin handy as well. So far so good. I haven't got any of the shell into my jug there, but if you do, don't worry. I should have said at the start, this is kind of obvious, but you know, not everybody's got good hygiene, so please make sure that before you start cooking you wash your hands thoroughly, particularly if you're going to be poking into stuff. I've got some water in a bowl in the sink because during this I will be frequently dipping my hands in. So I'm going to beat the eggs. You could do that with a whisk or you could just use a fork. So you want your beaten eggs to be, you know, well mixed in, the yellow and the white all mixed in together there. Okay, that's done. So we put that to one side. That's a cup of tea there. As you know, I always like to have a cup of tea on the go. That's not actually mine though. It's from my dad, who's currently in the garden, just tidying up the patio a little bit in case people need to go out there tomorrow because the party is here at my house. I don't want anyone going outside because my garden's rubbish. Anyway, so we've done that bit. Place the butter and sugar into a large mixing bowl and cream together. So the easiest way to do this, you also need a little weighing thing. Scales. I don't know why I always struggle with the word scales, why it doesn't come to my head. So put that on, make sure that it's there. I'm going to put it to ounces because that's what it says on my recipe. Knife. So we're looking for 6 ounces. Okay, that's 497. If anybody's interested, you probably can't hear it very clearly, but in the background I'm listening to BBC Six Music. Other stations are available, but I'm a massive fan of BBC Six Music and I will champion it constantly. Right, so I've done 638 there, so just take a bit off. That's now down to 620. 596. Ridiculous. Alright, it's gone up to 606. That's fine. I think it's always better to be slightly over than slightly under. Don't lick your fingers. You shouldn't lick your fingers when you're cooking stuff, really. It's not hygienic. We all do it. Right, so that's that done. That can go away. Okay, marge and sugar. So it's the sugar next. So we've got 6 ounces. If you're interested in grams, that is 170 grams. Okay. Anyway, I'm going back to ounces now. Bizarrely, it's now gone up to 610. But there you go. Oh, I shook the bowl. Now it's gone to 6.3. Whatevs. Right, so sugar is my next one. I don't know why I've got 2 bags of sugar open. I think I rescued one from somewhere, so I've reset my scale so that it shows 0 again. So put that in first. So I'm using pure cane granulated sugar, some of that. But I've also got some of this brown sugar to use up as well, because basically it's been sitting in the cupboard for ages and I need to use it up. So that's going in. I've actually got less of this than I had yesterday, because when I was looking for something in the cupboard, I actually managed to drop this jar and lose quite a lot of the contents over the floor. So obviously they got swept up and then I have gone. Right, so that's 444. And then here I've got some Silver Spoon British granulated sugar. This looks a bit finer than the one over there, which was Tate & Lyle. So there you go. That's just the difference between 2 different manufacturers. Possibly got this one from Lidl, don't know. Okay, so that's just over 6 ounces. So that's now done. It is a good idea to clean as you go, which basically means putting things away, because otherwise you just get loads of stuff everywhere. So place the butter and the sugar into a large mixing bowl and cream together. Okay, so this is where we're going to cream together. So first of all, if you still got it on your scales, move your scales from underneath, because obviously it won't sit properly on the scales. And then we get our whisk and we're just gonna Right, so that's the butter and the sugar creamed together. Now, in the olden days, you would do this with a wooden spoon. And obviously, there's still some people that would use a wooden spoon for that. Gradually beat in the eggs. So, a little bit at a time. obviously try and avoid the bowl tipping over. Get all my egg in there. Got some on my wrist. Anyway, let's finish that. And that is basically it. Apart from what? The flour, the most important ingredient. So far we've got eggs, butter, and sugar. And now we've got to put our flour in. So we just put our whisk to one side. Let's get the scales back out. Put this on. So I've said this before on a different video that sieving the flour in, I don't think you need to do that when you're using a whisk. So that's entirely up to you, but I'm not going to bother. Right, so 6 ounces of self-raising flour. I haven't got self-raising flour, I've got plain white flour, and I made a mistake at the start of this because I said you can use plain white flour. It's supposed to be self-raising. If you haven't got self-raising flour, then you use a bit of baking powder, so I'll put that in a second. Right, so right now we're going for 6. Make sure that you've put your scales on the right measurement as well before you start this. So I'm on 596 at the moment. There we go, that's my flour done. Let's just put that away. Baking powder. A versatile raising agent for cakes, scones, pastries and puddings. Blah, 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 blah. Use quantities as stated in your recipe. There's no quantities stated in my recipe because I'm supposed to be using self-raising flour. So that means that I'm just going to guess. I'm putting in like that much. I don't know. Is that enough? Is that too little? And a little bit more just for good measure. Maybe a bit more. Okay, that's basically, I've put in a tablespoon of baking powder and we'll leave it there. Okay. No idea if that's too much, too little or what. But anyway, I'm going to now fold the flour. mix up the wall there, but never mind. Right, so that is actually now your finished cake mix. So you would either be, if you was making a Victoria sponge, you'd be using cake tins, which you would pre-grease. You do that by taking some of your butter or spread and using a bit of greaseproof paper to basically coat the inside of the tin. I don't need to do that because I'm using cupcake, whatever they're called. What are they called? Fairy cake cases. Fairy cakes, they're calling them. Fairy cakes, cupcakes. Don't know, what's the difference between a fairy cake and a cupcake? Probably that fairy cakes is the British name and cupcakes is the American one. So anyway, I'm using one of these trays just to put my cases into. So we put them in. Obviously the top view there, the case has gone a bit skew-whiff. I'm sure that won't affect the quality of the final product. Right, so that's that done. And then you're basically going to dollop your mix into each of the cases. Right, so again, this is one of them, how much do I dollop into the case? I don't know. Sure, if you did this a lot, you would be more sort of comfortable, familiar with the amount that you want to be dolloping in. While I was just folding the flour there, I was thinking about how, you know, for me, the actual best part of the making the process is licking the bowl, or, you know, not licking the bowl. I'm not going to put my whole head out into it. But, you know, when you eat the leftover cake mix. So if you're having a particularly bad day, week, year, life, and you don't actually want to make cakes for anybody, you just want to make the cake mix and then just sit and eat it, fair enough, I'm not judging. I don't recommend you do that every day though, because it's really very, very unhealthy. But yeah, I mean, I'm going to be honest, I don't scrape the bowl out completely when I'm making cakes. I try and make sure that there's a reasonable amount of the mixture still left in the cake bowl. In the mixing bowl, because I really want to eat that. So some of these have got more in than others. Let's just try and level them up a bit. The good thing is you don't have to be too neat about this part, because obviously it's going to cook, and as it cooks the mixture will sort of settle anyway. Which is particularly good if you're a bit cat-handed like me. So I just got interrupted then by a phone call. So anyway, it was my mum with a suggestion for my butter icing, which is what we'll be doing next. Anyway, so I have done 12 cakes on that tray, and I've got another 6 here. So obviously you've done the maths and you know that 12 plus 6 is 18. Right, there we go. So I'm leaving that big amount on the spoon and I'm leaving that much in the bowl so that I can go. Right, so there's my cupcakes. They're ready to go in the oven. Cupcakes, fairy cakes, whatever we're calling them. Cook for 20 minutes, gas mark 4. So let's top oven, bottom oven. We'll go for the bottom oven today. Obviously, if you are cooking using an electric oven, then you would do the equivalent of gas mark 4. I don't know what that is. Right, so preheat the oven for a little while. I'm now going to obviously eat the cake mix while the oven is preheating. You don't need to see that, it's disgusting. Okay, so I have emptied this bowl of the cake mix with the aid of a spoon and my stomach. And obviously I've washed it because we're going to be using it again now. So what we're going to be doing now is the butter icing. So first of all, put that on. So we want, this time, 3 ounces of the spread. So I've got my knife still from before, so that's good. Possibly hear some dreadful noise happening outside. That's my dad blowing up balloons. Using a proper thing, that's not what he sounds like when he's blowing up a balloon. We're not talking about regular balloon blowing here. So anyway, that's 366. That's too much. Now when you're doing butter icing is really sickly, so I would say this is not the time where you want things to be as extra. I've just got to give my dad a balloon to blow up. Okay, so some considerable time has passed. We've had a bit of a disaster with the birthday balloons. The centrepiece balloon, well, it's not really the centrepiece balloon. I've got a large 4 balloon and a heart balloon, 2 heart balloons and 2 star balloons. And then on top was supposed to be a character balloon of Sky from Paw Patrol. Sky popped. She was not salvageable. So that was annoying. Anyway, the cupcakes are definitely cooled now, so we can carry on with the butter icing. So anyway, we were up to the marge. So we've put, that's actually butter. 3 ounces of butter has gone in there. Okay, we're going to add the icing sugar. So 6 ounces of icing sugar. I've got a small amount here, which is left over from Turkish Delight. Okay. And then I've got this box of icing sugar from my mum because I didn't have any. If you don't make cakes all the time, it's a bit of a problem because, you know, these things come in like 500 grams. My mum's had this box for quite a while now. Hasn't used it at all. So I kind of feel like they should make them in smaller. Right, so we're doing... what's 6. Sounds like my dad just popped another balloon, but to be fair, they're just normal balloons, so I'm not really bothered about that. Whoops. Okay, gone a bit far, gone a bit over. Now, butter icing is super sickly, so there we go. Right, that's that done. Haven't got any music on now because they were doing an interview with somebody and it wasn't very interesting. I mean, it probably was interesting for a lot of people. It just wasn't very interesting for me. So anyway, mix, add. Okay. Marge, icing sugar, 1 tablespoon of cocoa powder, optional, and vanilla flavouring. So there's 2 problems here. I don't have any cocoa powder and I also don't have any vanilla flavouring. But what I do have is some lavender flavouring, which is very nice. And I'm going to be using that. Okay, well I was trying to pour that in the lid, but what I've actually done is it's just poured down the side of the bottle. So I've probably put about 2 lidfuls in there. I'm not going overboard with this. I just want a very light flavour there. I really like lavender flavour. It's subtle, it's nice. So we now mix this together. Now in terms of your, it's been ages since I did butter icing. So how do you get it smooth for putting on your cake? So we're just going to mix this together. As you can see, I'm using just a regular spoon for this. There's a lot of that very fine butter icing going up in the air there. So now it creams together quite easily. I mean, let's face it, what we're basically doing here is putting butter on top of the cake and butter and sugar. That's basically what you're coating your cake in, isn't it? So the alternative to this, when I'm making a Victoria sponge cake, what I normally use is, instead of butter icing, I normally will just put a bit of whatchamacallit, cream, real cream. So anyway, that's it. And it says add milk or water or extra icing sugar until you've got the correct amount and consistency. But you don't actually have to do any of those things. So let's just have a quick taste. Yep. Okay, my mum's probably going to say that it's too lavendery. Now, what I'm going to do, because I haven't got cocoa powder, but I do want to just give it a more chocolatey look to it because of this being a Paw Patrol party, I'm going to cheat. I'm going to use some hot chocolate powder. It's pretty much the same. So this is a large teaspoon's worth, but I don't even think I'm going to need that much, so I've just put in a bit of that because I don't really want this to be particularly chocolatey. I just want to change the colour. I would have liked to have done it blue, but I don't have any food colouring anymore because, again, I don't really make cakes that often. So, okay, now it just looks dirty. All right, let's put a bit more in. Okay. Okay, it's kind of beige looking now, which is good enough because basically I just didn't want it to look too obviously like, hey guys, this is just butter, which it really kind of is. Okay, now I really only need this because I am putting the things on. So anyway, these are the cakes, as you can see. My dollops, I probably could have been a bit less generous with my dollops. They've come out fine, so that's good. The second tray where I was using up what was left, there's some that are a bit smaller in there. But so we're going to take the butter icing mix, and we're just going to put that onto the cakes now. So I just basically need a dollop on each of these. Now, I would say that, you know, for freshest, bestest cake making, you're better off making it on the day. I am going to be way too stressed out tomorrow to do that. So it's better that I've done it today. Because tomorrow, before the guests and the child, the guest of honour, arrive, I need to make some sandwiches, which I've got my aunt coming around to help with. But I will have to pop to the shops as well, just to get the last bits and pieces for the sandwiches. It's not going to be that exciting. I'll be doing some chicken nuggets, oven chips, fish fingers. That's obviously for the kids. Any parents that want to have that are also welcome to. And then there'll be some sandwiches. And I'll be doing bog standard cheese and tomato, cheese and cucumber, cheese, tomato and cucumber, ham, cheese and ham, right, so I've put a dollop on every one there. There's one cake that's got like the tiniest amount on, so let's just get that. Make it feel a bit more loved. Okay, and then I'm just going to smoosh the icing a little bit here. So that's that one smooshed. That's that one smooshed. Don't know if you can hear that, but in the background, my dad's watching a woodworking channel on YouTube, Laura Becker Art. So from the sound of it, she does lots of lovely things. So if you want to check that out at some point, Laura Becker Art. There you go. This smooshing is time consuming and tedious, so I might pause now and come back to you when I finish that. Okay, I haven't finished smooching. I got bored, and it occurred to me that there might be a better way to do this. So basically, my 30 Paw Patrol puppet, what do you call it? Cake toppers. I'm just going to cut them out and stick them on. So these are, as I said earlier, printed onto rice paper, and that was, I can't remember if this was $1.99 or $2.99. You can get ones that are pre-cut, which obviously saves you having to cut them out, but obviously the privilege of having them pre-cut means that you're going to pay a little bit more. So just make sure you've got a decent pair of kitchen scissors for this job. And again, that your hands are clean. Okay, so that's the first one cut out. That's the best that I can manage. And then I'm just going to stick that on the centre of the cake. Wow, that looks... it looks good enough. There you go. So these are my homemade cupcakes. Obviously, I'm going to cut all of these out and stick them all on. And that will basically be them done. So I'll come back to you to show you once they're all done. Okay, so I'm on my last one now, and as I said, I gave up smooching them because I realised that I could kind of do that with the cupcake topper anyway. So there we go, and that looks a lot better than the ones where I was trying to smooch the icing round. So anyway, that's now done. Now, obviously, if it was party was today, I would just be putting these out. Fantastic, great. But it's not. So we need to put them ideally in an airtight container. So let's have a look at what we've got. So I'm obviously not going to be able to fit huge amounts of these in. Now the good thing is that because of the toppers, I can just about balance a second row of cupcakes on top there. So that's 6 in that tub. You want to put them in an airtight box so that they don't go stale. So anyway, those ones are done. It's problematic because you're now like, you know, we don't want 600 plastic tubs, but this is the time when you're like, oh, I wish I had 600 plastic tubs. 4 in that one. And that leaves me with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Yeah, okay, I don't know why that was so complicated for me to count there. 2 in that one. Obviously this is going to take up a lot of tubs. So if you're sensible, you would have an actual cake tin, or you might have, if you're someone who likes a lot of chocolate, you might have leftover, you know, the box of chocolates that you get in a circle tub Christmas time. By the way, they're made out of rice paper. This is the leftover from the cake toppers, so you can eat that. If you think, oh, that's a bit dry on its own, then use your leftover butter icing. Nice. So anyway, that's the cupcakes done. And tomorrow what I'll be doing is I will be arranging those artfully on the Paw Patrol tower that we conveniently have because it's one of Auri's toys. I will obviously be wiping it over prior to putting the cakes on it. But that's basically how you make cupcakes. As I said before, it's the same recipe for making a Victoria sponge. Obviously, you need to use self-raising flour because then you'll get a nicer, higher cake, and you would maybe double the recipe amount if you're wanting to make a nice thick one, or if you want to make multiple layers, you would use you'd need lots of circle cake trays. You can do it in different style cake trays. If you're doing, say for example, a rainbow cake, you would need lots of mixing bowls, because what you'll do is you'll make up your mix, and obviously you would need to increase the recipe amount so that you've got enough for your different layers, and you would use a different tray for each layer of the cake. And what you'll do is, once you've got your total volume of cake mix, you'll scoop out, you obviously need to calculate the amount, divide it by 5, 6, however many layers you're doing, and you would scoop that out one bit at a time, and put some food colouring in, mix that in. You won't need a huge amount to colour your cake mix. You'd then put that into the cake tray. Rinse your bowl out, or if you're wealthy and got loads of space in your cupboards, you'll have individual bowls for all of this. Same again with the next one, different colour, blah blah blah. Remember that if you are making multicoloured layers of cake, you shouldn't actually need to buy 5 or 6 different bottles of food colouring, because if you buy your primary colours, so red, yellow, blue, you can combine, think back to primary school, you'll be able to combine those to make purple, green, orange, and that will obviously you do that in a smaller bowl and then mix it in. If you wanted to make butterfly cakes, you would do cupcakes like this, or fairy cakes, and then you would get a knife and you would slice off the top of the cake. You'd put your butter icing in, and then you would cut the sliced top of the cake in half and stick the 2 halves onto the cake to create the butterfly wings, which is a quite traditional sort of British party cake type thing. Don't seem to see them around a lot these days, but yeah, butterfly cakes used to be all the rage when I was a kid. Yeah, that's pretty much it. So I hope you've enjoyed this adulting tutorial on how to make cakes, which is something that you can do. It doesn't take that long. You're probably talking about an hour of your day, and at the end of it you'll get nice cakes, and it's a good activity to do with your children as well, or if you just want to stuff your face with cakes, you know, don't worry about anyone else, just make them for yourself. Don't do that. Don't just make cakes and eat them all the time. But yeah, every so often it's good to do. Anyway, as I say, I hope you've enjoyed that tutorial, and please feel free to join me again anytime on Adulting with Hayley for other exciting recipes and ideas.